Nothing like keeping it real. Welcome, everybody, for the third of 5 segments today. We are charging up the Ascension Hill. There's no middle ground. It's all or nothing. And we know, of course, as we integrate polarities, that they are actually one and the same thing. So everybody just take a chill pill. Everybody Wang Chung. We got a beautiful, beloved sister in the house. This is Aurora Luna. She's been a fixture in Sedona for a while. I don't know how long, but yeah, she's been out there doing the work. And in typical Oulogy style, we're going to get to know her in front of our brothers and sisters. We have nothing rehearsed at all, although I do know she's from Long Island because she says use. She'll say use, as Joe Pesci did in that incredible movie, My Cousin Vinny. Use, guys. And I'll say y'all because I'm from Texas. But welcome to the show, Aurora. Thank you for your patience. I've always, I know we've run into each other 2-3 times, and I know it's always fast and furious when I'm in town.
Yes.
But I've always really, I picked up on your energy immediately, and it's a very cool energy. So I'm really looking forward to talk to you. And I've run into some people that know you, and they speak very, very, very highly of you. You know, so I'm not sure how much you paid him to tell me that. But.
Well, I do have a few friends in town that, my mom will still send the checks to.
So how long have you been in Sedona?
It'll be 2 years, October 1st.
Oh, so you haven't been here that long.
No, and 3 years in Shasta before that.
Oh, 3 years in Shasta.
Yeah.
So you and Sandra are on the same
I was going to
path.
say, I think I follow her, or she follows, we follow each other kind of inadvertently. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Wow. So, so the old Oulogy question is, when did you wake up? Or when did you reawaken? Let me use that term.
Yeah, reawaken's a good way to ask the question. I was in my late 20s, moved back to New York from Los Angeles, of all places, and it was a rough go. It was realizing that I really didn't feel aligned anywhere with anything I was doing. And so at some point, I went to work one day and started to really feel as if I was dying behind the desk. When you're doing something that's so far out of your alignment. So I quit, and I was offered a job in Mexico, and so I just packed 8 suitcases and my cat at the time, and that's where the real work started. Because I didn't speak a word of Spanish, and I didn't end up having a job actually when I got there.
Where did you go?
To Merida in the Yucatan Peninsula.
So you went down there, white girl went down there with 8 suitcases and a cat.
Yes.
Limited funds. And and how long were you down there?
It lasted 6 months, but in that 6 months, there was a lot of good juice.
Yeah.
I came down to definitely slough off some ego layers and integrate some more love.
So you got initiated by the land.
Oh, yes, I did.
So was there any specific regional faces of the universe that assisted you? Like,
for sure.
Mayan, Tolic?
It was definitely Mayan. I work definitely with the Mayan frequencies even now. When I have retreats, I'll often do despachos, and even though that's typically Peruvian by background, Ishmukane, the energy of grandmother, always comes in. She's the one who grinds the corn in the center of the earth, helping us do transmutation.
So when did you start light language, channeling, transmission? I mean, was it during that 6 months?
No, the channeling started as a kid. So I've been speaking light language since as long as I can remember. I even remember singing light language and crying.
Did that bring up any issues like with the family and everything?
Well, yeah. So eventually I did stop speaking. Yeah. When I got to Shasta, literally almost when I landed there, I knew no one. And I went into a crystal store, one of my favorite, Soul Connections, and the woman behind the desk, Dee, told me I needed to attend a drum ceremony. And so I went, and the people there were all doing language, and it started to come back pretty powerfully, actually.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was amazing.
Wow. I want to say to everybody, we're getting suppressed on the shows. So if you wouldn't mind sharing this to your page or to one group, I would appreciate it. so we could stay above the algorithms. So you basically, when you left New York and went down to Mexico, from that point on, you pretty much dedicated your life to. Now, what year was that?
So that was 2014. I woke up
Okay.
sooner, but I didn't really embody
Yeah.
and start to really do the work.
You didn't
until-
get jiggy with it till
Exactly.
2014.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you've been on this path for like 6 years, which there's a lot of women out there, in particular, nothing against the men, but we all know who's leading the charge here. But there's a lot of women that have been doing this, have dedicated their entire life and embodied it, I guess, like you put, for even a lot longer than 6 years. But I mean, I know some women have come on this show, have done it for 15, 20, 25 years, not, trying to create any type of attention toward themselves.
Right.
And,
That was the beginning.
yeah. Just doing what they were guided to do and somehow or another surviving. Did you have any challenges as far as trying to make it financially?
Yes. Oh, yes. In fact, when John Burgos met me, who does, telesummits and whatnot, he said, "Hey, I want you on my show." And at that point, I was in Shasta. I just had my car repossessed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no. I didn't feel spiritual. I didn't feel aligned, though obviously the car getting repossessed needed to clear out to become aligned.
True.
But it was really a pretty low point. Some relationships had come to a completion at that point until we all came back around. It was interesting unfolding. Shasta offered me beautiful medicine. Made it longer there than I did Mexico. It was 3 years in Shasta. In fact, when I left Shasta, I didn't want to go. Yeah. I was so happy living there. I felt like I'd graduated and made it through some of the important stuff. But like all things, when the guidance tells you where you're going,
Yeah, exactly.
if you listen, the rewards are great.
So you were told to go to Sedona.
I went to Europe first for a couple of months to run some retreats and have some fun and do some spiritual do the codes and the crystals all over the place. I brought my singing bowls, I brought my mesa, I brought my crystal skull. I was traveling with like 100 pounds worth of luggage. And about 11 days before I was coming back to the States, I said, all right, source self, what's happening? I need somewhere to live. And sure enough, I remembered a conversation that I'd had with a friend. I see you living in Sedona. And I was like, yeah, me too, but I don't know the timing of that. Well, my friend was 12 hours time distance different from where I was in England, and they answered the phone.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, these are the people you need to call. These are the, the places. And of course, Kenji Kumara, who's one of my very good dear friends, who's now in Asheville, he was getting ready to go to Australia, and he stopped and he gave me all these links in Craigslist, and he just showed up like my brother and gave me all this information. It was really remarkable, magical.
So you've pulled in the light language since you were a little kid. I've heard some women talk about that. I also heard they shut it down. They had to shut it down.
Yeah.
Did you go? Let me back up just a little bit. But so when you started, like say 2014, did you get estranged from your family? Did you go through that? Like a lot of light workers were, you're crazy. You need to be.
No.
Yeah. So you had a lot of support.
I had a lot of support, though. I have to say, the first time my mom heard the light language, like on one of the shows, she said, I have to admit, I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I said, that's okay.
Well, at least she's honest.
She was, but even when I told her the next show was going to be almost all light language, she listened anyway.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the work you've done with John Burgos. So he does great work.
Yeah, he does.
You've done quite a few collaborations with him.
Yes.
So you have been kind of active in the Tele Summit part of it, because I know that was part of the evolution of what.
Yeah.
And I know because of what I'm doing over the last, I would have to say, let's just say like the last 3 years, like, there seems to be a lot of movement in the lightworker community when it comes to expressions or sharing the channeling, the transmissions, light language, broadcasting, whatever products, services. There seems to be a lot of movement. I know when I first came in, it looked like there was, I'm going to value myself, I'm going to charge what I charge. And then there was another end of the spectrum that said, I can't do it. I can't charge anything. I feel like I'm, I just don't feel right. And then there seems to be kind of a movement with that,
Yes.
I know our stance has been, from the guidance, has been don't charge anything. And, we'll let you know when you can put the website out. We'll let you know when you put the network out.
Barter.
I'm sitting here going, it'd be nice to have a little more abundance, but it's all for a reason. But getting back to what I was talking about, have you seen a change in the community? And I'm just curious because this is real talk. I mean, we're not trying to advocate anything. We're just all trying to figure this out together. And I said it many times. I'll say it again. Our highest level of activations, transmissions, downloads, and channelings come from conversations like this, because we are an equal part in our multidimensional teams. In fact, we are the pivotal, crucial part. Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't be conscious all the time here. But anyway, what's your perspective on that? What do you think's happening? Where do you think it'll go? Or any comments you have on that to try to help us?
So, I mean, if I'm allowed to share something specific, that's
absolutely
up to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Wisdom of the Ancients, Ian Shelley just launched something actually really that I think is going to be a game changer for a lot of people, like really potentially all the telesummits. And I'm getting a very big yes. So first, he's offering a membership where you're part of a private Facebook group for $11 a month. Okay? $11 or $150 for the year. Every single day, someone will do a Facebook Live. And every single day, someone I think is also doing a distance, like a remote healing. So as a participant that I am offering, I've given him the theme of what I'm doing for my live on October 11th and what I'm doing for my, I think on the 10th, and then the remote on October 11th. And he puts it out there. And then anyone who pays these $11 will get access to all of these people and all of this stuff. And then when he does a live show, so I'll be doing one of those as well, you get a 40% discount on any of the packages.
Okay. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So every contributor as well as every viewer would pay $11 a month and then have access to all that and then discount on any purchases from any of the videos.
The contributor actually not only doesn't have to contribute monetarily, we get a piece of that pie. So he's acknowledging that once a month we're showing up for the community. So he's sharing something of that 11 with us.
Yeah, that's similar to the download I got, which is basically based on the 369.
Right.
And what it is you have this funnel of abundance that goes in, which, as I've been told, is based on the honor system, paying it forward. And it goes in, and then you have a transparent, a transparent page or whatever that's open to the public and everybody, which shows the percentage of viewership or contribution, and then the abundance is distributed to the contributors based on the transparent breakdown. So I think we're getting there, and I'm glad that you put that in there, because I've had a lot of people approach me in regard to, or even come on to the show in their because that's all they've known is the telesummit template. Right. And so we've had to forge our own, and it's been an interesting dance. But I wanted to ask you just to see what your perspective was on it. And
it could be a game changer, because I'm telling you, I will probably not be. I've done maybe 13 different forums, and there's one I will definitely not return to, because when I talked about trying to schedule something for the future, the answer was, well, your numbers weren't very good. And now I get that depending on how they've set up what they're doing, they have to pay, they have their setup. Yeah. So they have to honor that. And I do honor that. But to me, it also felt like, whoa, so if I don't produce a certain number of things, it made me feel all of a sudden like part of something that didn't feel like what I desire to be aligned with. Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't just maybe I don't have the numbers, because not everyone's going to get my light language or my codes or my frequency, which is totally perfect, because medicine is different from all of us, for each of us. But it was that,
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was. I
find that interesting. I really do. Wow, this is cool. I like talking to you. Yeah. I find that interesting because this really started being downloaded to me in 2014, but the specifics of the what I call 5D commerce didn't until 2018, and they've come in a lot. Sure. And they show me a lot of different stuff. One of the things they show me is you cannot measure anything from the duality templates. So even, and I'm not knocking these people at all.
No,
we're all
I'm
here to
grateful for
learn.
them.
I respect everybody's reality to
Yeah.
include where they stand, but that anything that's built from duality, even if you initiate it today and it has components of duality, it's not going to survive anyway.
No, it can't.
Yeah, so it's going to crumble. And then the second thing would be, okay, so you can't measure success, so to speak, by the number of likes, the number of dollars,
Right.
the number of views, because I've been shown too many times the impact in the energetic field, which comes back in a lot of little nuanced, little subtle ways, nuances, which is like putting people together. Like I know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so much value in that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and because we're all like picking. This is the real contagion, right? This is the real viral
Yes.
aspect, right? Program or whatever you want to call it. And so that we can't forget that. But we're all learning together and we're creating these new templates together. But I think this is a fascinating subject because nobody's really got their arms around it yet. But yeah, very cool. I appreciate you sharing that.
For sure. Even Ian said, it'll grow. We'll see what happens as we grow. But the idea of it, I thought was really revolutionary. And I thought he was very brave to just step into it.
Yeah, I think I do. I like it. One of the things I've been told is what you create it from scratch. So there's no influence. There's no censorship.
Right.
So you have you have everything except for controlling the internet stream coming into your studio.
Sure.
Everything else you control. So we're working on it, and I guess we're all going to meet in the middle.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm interested to see because who do you connect with? What do you connect with? Are there certain aspects of the universal, the you, me, we, and it, that have kind of brought you to the party? Did they leave? Do you
never leave.
Do you have one? Well, true, but you know how it is. Sometimes you get all this stuff will happen, and all of a sudden you're sitting there for a period of time of integration. You're like, where the hell did everybody go?
But they have to. Otherwise, we have an expectation and we fall back into patterns all over again, right?
Codependence?
Yes, exactly.
Well, at least from our end anyway.
No, for sure. And the desire for the spectacular. Yeah, no, the Arcturians, I would say, have been first and foremost the Anunnaki, which I know is very controversial when I say that. But it was not about...
It's not with me.
Good. Well, everyone's got different downloads on things. And for me, the Anunnaki are a creator aspect just like any other aspect.
Absolutely.
Good, bad, and ugly. We've all got it.
They're one of our 12 strands of DNA.
Exactly.
So.
We evolved through it, which is exactly the purpose. And I would say they're, powerful angelics as well.
Yeah.
And then I can't, every time I think it's one aspect. So I say that I work with the elders of the cosmos. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because while there are specific beings that definitely got me to this point, the universality of it, the universalness of it, is quite vast.
Absolutely it is. And have you gone through this period of not period, but it's like the process. I'm just going to use myself as an example, but I've heard many people talk about it. So in the beginning for me, it was like 6 ascendeds, Archangel Michael, a couple other angels, archangels, Jesus Magdalene, 3 spirit guides, and a couple other divine essences. And over time, they didn't leave the building. They were embodied.
Yes.
And some of that was shown to me through physical morphine and transformation. And so you keep going down, and I would always wonder, I'd be like, how come it's not like it used to be, guys? And they're like, because we're you know, kind of thing. Have you had any of that?
Sure.
Is there anything that you feel that's, and I've heard people say it both ways, people that are as vibrational, as high a vibration as you, are there any of these aspects that you feel that still feel external?
Sometimes, sure.
Yeah.
I would say yes. But I would say that, Archangel Michael, Saint Germain, Kuan Yin, these were all very powerful essences that stepped forward on my behalf when I first started the path. And now I'd say that, again, it does feel like they only step in on occasion. It feels more like they are, again, part of that universal frequency.
Yeah.
And yes, there's definitely more of an embodied aspect. And then I think when I'm triggered is when they kind of show up to show me where that misalignment is.
Yeah.
Like, so if Kuan Yin is the bodhisattva of compassion, and I'm at the dog park.
You're at the dog park.
And someone's going after my dog. Yeah. So, I always joke the dog park is my biggest classroom in this now moment, because I have a 90-pound wolf dog that has my heart.
A
And
90-pound wolf dog. I don't know that he would need a lot of protection, would he?
well, what happens is when other people don't watch their dogs the way you watch yours, if anything happens, he'd be responsible.
Yeah.
So that it's from that frequency.
Do you communicate with him telepathically?
Yes.
How's that go?
It's beautiful, actually. I can see where our stars cross and where we have actually differences in our backgrounds.
Yeah.
He definitely came to me as a gift.
Yeah.
Even this morning, it was such an interesting. I got pretty heavily attacked this morning by some energy.
Oh, really?
First time in a really long time.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
But I walked into the restroom just to, do my business, and he walked in there with me, which he never does. But it was right after it happened. And I couldn't tell if he was both guarding me, but also both aware of that frequency. And I just touched his head and said, "Don't worry." I said, we call on source. We called on everything.
Yeah.
And it all came in and just blew that energy right out of the water.
Right on.
And I just said, "There's no fear. We're good." And he just looked up at me and then he kissed my face.
Does he ever talk to you in terms of like animal kingdom?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I say that because so much of this stuff is taking on a physicality.
Yes.
And if I look at, because for me, it's like very very much the earth, nature beings, elementals. Although the rest are involved, obviously, but they just seem to be. Not only are we taking an equal place in our collective multidimensional team, but it seems like from an animal kingdom, or let's say from a kingdom context, that the animals, as physical as they may be or appear, are also taking an equal place, and their information and their code and what they have to share is just as important as the fantastic stuff that kind of brought
for
us.
sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the animals are also taking on a lot of our stuff. They're trying to help us transmute as best they can, whether it be the dolphins in the ocean before a hurricane, or whether it be, animals and families where there's just complete chaos happening.
Yeah.
Something personal, one of my family members' pets passed away really early, but there was so much trauma going on emotionally in that household that I know the dog took the hit so that the people wouldn't have to.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you said that, because I haven't had a lot of pets in my life. I think I've had 3 dogs. That's when I had a lot of kids in the house. But since I started, this gypsy lifestyle, mostly by myself. Before Morgan would come back and forth until she came for good. But I noticed that with a lot of the people I would run across that had pets, cats or dogs, that's what was happening.
Yeah.
And so like you could see kind of like the neurosis in the individual, and then you could see it really amplified and magnified.
Yeah. People say to me all the time, "Can you work on my pet?" And I'm like, "Can I work on you?"
Well, it would only make it is. That's a great, because if you think about it, everything, as we raise our frequencies, like begets like.
Yeah.
So, if they're at this lower vibrational frequency or this neurotic whatever frequency, that animal is probably lowering its frequency just to meet that because out of love. Where if they raise their frequency, then naturally, and I've seen that too. Yeah. I've seen people shift and then the animal shifts. I'm like, whoa.
I went through that with my cat. I had my cat for 12 years, and it was 12 years of serious spiritual work. And who we were together at the end of our time together was so vast from the beginning.
Yeah. The cats are amazing too. I never, ever even got involved with cats. And then when I hit the road in 2016, I went to Arkansas. And the sister I was staying with, she had 3 indoor cats and 8 outdoor cats.
Oh my.
In this portal kind of atmosphere. But yeah, that's when I really started to talk to the animals, and not question myself, not question my intuition or my telepathy.
Sure.
So you mentioned something, and I love talking about things that aren't talked about.
Yeah.
They're kind of glossed over. People kind of use the word or the phrase spiritual bypassing, and I think they've used it too much because now it's just as distorted as the term twin flames, you know?
Truth.
But this would be in regard to, let me just kind of preface this. So like spiritual attacks, dark energy in my field or in my presence, it's non-physical, or even it's maybe physical or both, you know? But anything that may feel alien, okay, threatening, attacking. And now you just said you haven't had it happen in a long time, and let me just
Not
finish
like
it.
this, yeah.
I haven't had anything like that happen in quite some time. I did a lot of work on it back in the original studio because I lived next door to a cemetery, and I would take nightly walks, and it was everything from you know dimensional beings, 20-foot reptilians, to animal encounters, to just a lot of different stuff, and I guess where I'm going with it, I know it's real. I respect everybody's reality. I just have a curious mind, and I just try to, like a sponge, you try to gather information.
Sure.
What's your take on that? Is that something that you've attracted to you? And we're just using you as an example.
For sure.
Is that something we attract to ourselves, just like anything else that plays before us to give us a message that maybe we're unconscious about?
Yes.
Or is there still, and I want to say this before I finish the question, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But I think there was a period, a post, at least for me, and what seemed to be what I observed in the community, post 2012, let's say up to maybe 2015, 2016, and maybe it tapered out, where there was that type of energy. There was an energy that was encroaching and infringing on people's space. But there seems to be some type of shift with it. What's your take on that?
It's yes to both. And I knew before you finished it was yes to both. So the first half of my journey, I was working through releasing that which was no longer serving, whether it be something that was inside of me that I have kicked out and or something I was attracting to me because of belief systems or contracts, all of it. One of my lovely friends calls it the divine opposition because it absolutely is, right? It's just an opposing energy, but everything's source.
Yeah.
So we contract, I feel, everything we experience.
Yeah.
We can create it from our emotion and or we can experience it from outside of us. This came in, I believe, I connected with a brother yesterday. He's actually very interesting and unique. I think you'd love to talk with him.
Cool.
And I sent you a message on it just so you know.
You did?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, his name is Steven, and he's an interesting cat and and I think you guys would love him. Anywho, and I think he's here for another day or two.
Okay.
The connection I had to him, he was talking about my lab and all the different things that he's gone through. I mean, and he's woke up at 16, and so he went out to Thunder, did all this work yesterday, and experienced some attacks. So I gave him some, rose water, crystals, fun, whatever, and just said, do what you want, do what you feel, connect with whatever works. And I feel like what happened was I was suddenly uncloaked to a vibration that would not have been aware of me prior to my connection to him. And I feel, I'm getting that's a yes. So that feels like my truth.
Yeah.
And so that's why when I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, you guys, for real. Because I was having a dream. The dream gave me the awareness of the presence. But when I opened my eyes, I could feel this huge metal energy, like implantish thing on top of my head. And I was like, yeah, that's not staying. Like, don't you guys get it?
I wonder if that's like I like what you said about you were uncloaked, energetically, and it noticed you.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's just a way for in our internal field, there's a part of us that hasn't been opened up. Like the code hasn't been activated. And maybe it's just a small encounter like that. And that's interesting that you say this too, because I went through from, I guess, maybe around 3:30 this morning, 3:30, 4:30. Yeah, so like 5 different 1 hour. You know how that happens when you have lucid dream and you wake up at the same time an hour later. So it went on for like 5 or 6 lucid dreams, and I was trying to figure out what the hell it was. I was too foggy when I woke up, and then I had to jump right into doing this. But this is the same time period.
Yes.
Now, if I think about it, it was very much of a kind of a, like a, what do you want to call it? Invading invading energy that was acting out of alignment, and it was portraying itself metaphorically to me by basically trying to possess and attack my energy. And yet I'm playing the game going, I am God. Like,
Right, exactly.
You know?
That was my exact response.
Which was kind of, and I was kind of like, okay, why isn't this thing, like, why isn't it coming to, resolution? And why isn't the story ending so I can get the hell out of bed and go wake up to put water in my face? And but I wonder if it was something collective. Did it feel collective to you, or was it more of an individual thing with you?
No, it felt big. Like, I haven't been attacked like this since I don't even know when. It felt invasive. Like, so if we're going to say that there's a war happening right now, it's clearly on our consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And this feels like a very powerful way for infiltration to happen, especially during sleep time when we are more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it feels like the energy that could totally take over someone's consciousness that isn't really working on themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I was special by any means. Like, again, maybe something was in awareness that wasn't before, but I feel like this mass is happening actually as we speak.
Yeah.
And definitely what feels like through January at least.
Yeah.
But definitely through the next 2 months, because the next 2 months, I mean, there's so much pivotal.
Well, we're heading into winter.
Yeah.
And it's always, that's interesting too, because I notice, I've noticed that as you look at the, memories on Facebook, for example,
Yeah.
they come up, and it's like this, especially notice with Morgan's work, like what she wrote about in 2017 in September, and it's like the same thing. And like here, yesterday, I looked on mine, and a year ago, we arrived at Sherilyn's house to stay with her for 2 weeks, and I'm like, wow, so it's not just like, hey, heads up, be aware, these are the energies that are playing that are going to challenge you, but it's also these what's happening to me is these cyclical things where the power and the embodiment and the expansion energy is, you can see it. It's bigger than it was last year.
Right,
It's bigger
next
than it was
octave.
Yeah, so there seems to be a lot of forward momentum, which is exciting to me.
Oh, yes.
So what do you, let me ask you this too. I've always wanted to ask somebody this, who's knee deep in this. Crystals, aromatherapies, all these different things. And I know crystals might be in a different class, but really everything's the same God substance.
Yes, it's consciousness.
Yeah. So do you find as time, I've always wanted to ask somebody this like you, do you find as time goes on that those are kind of like the team? Do they become, I don't want to say that they're used less, but I mean, are you doing more with the imagination, let's put it that way, with the power of the mind? What am I trying to say? What you think, what you carry forward, what you project. How much have the ceremonial part of it changed or expanded or lessened?
That's a good question. I'd say expanded, definitely not lessened. I use every single tool in my toolbox right now, and I ask my clients to sift through the ones that work for them. But for me, I don't know if it's because I'm an Aquarius with an Aquarius rising, but I want to include everything. Yeah. When I work with the frequency or consciousness of an oil, especially, I don't know if you know Cynthia in town. She has her a company, Wisdom of the Earth, essential oils. The reason why those oils are special is because they actually treat them like a consciousness when they're pouring them, right?
Course. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to mention the other companies, but a lot of them obviously don't, right? Yeah. So when you're working with something that's so potent and already intended, and then you're adding an intention, right? Crystals the same. I don't like saying that you program crystals. I know everyone has a different opinion on that, but you work with the consciousness.
Yeah, you're working with it's a consciousness. And those people that don't do that are still infusing consciousness into it. It's just unaware. It's unconscious. It's just no different than where we came from. So I have this one that was given to me today.
Oh, yay.
Beautiful. It's a love potion.
Of course it is.
And I just wondering, do you have any advice on how I could use it on Morgan? I'm just kidding.
You're so silly. You're going to have to ask Morgan.
I'm kidding. I didn't know where to put it. Or do you cook it or put it in the food or a drink or what do you do?
No. Probably not that.
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. I'm like, probably not that
I'm
stuff.
just going to hand it to you and say, here.
You could do that.
So what do you, well, let me do this first. Let me make sure the time is right.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, we're good. So I don't want to run out of time. We still got about 10, 12 minutes. But I want to just ask you if there's anything that you would like to do, like a light language or an activation, a healing. If you would like to sing or belly dance like the last lady.
Wow, she belly danced?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm like,
she's
cool.
She's a belly dancer, but she didn't do it. But no, if there's anything that you want to do, all right. If there's anything you want to do, including if there's more commentary, something you want to talk about, it's up to you.
I would definitely share light language transmission. Funny enough, I was going to bring my crystal bowls, but then they said no.
No, maybe because there's some over here.
Yeah.
Oh, those aren't crystal bowls.
No, but it was.
Those in the other office, though.
Yeah.
I work with the metal in here, so.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It wasn't. No, it was just a clear no. So I said, okay, no worries. But what it feels like is like there's soul memory for us to come back into real frequency around forgiveness and compassion, patience with ourselves. All of my clients, I feel like, are holding themselves hostage right now for the pitfalls that are happening. But I feel like that those pitfalls are integral and imperative, because in order for the shift to happen, you have to go into them. And even though they hurt and they feel uncomfortable and all that, we know that when that happens, the gold is just on the other side, So I just honor that everyone is really experiencing that. It feels like on a deep level in a lot of different ways. I know even in my own family, just when I think one part of it's maybe sustained and or okay, something else unravels, and it's like, wow, how do we hold space for everybody's choices?
That's a really good way to explain it, because it's like everything, even like with so many people being affected by the collective stuff going on.
Yeah.
But like if we look at the collective like an individual, I mean, why would it, as within without, why would it be any different? So all this stuff has to come up to be recognized for the role that it's played, whether it be a person or a practice like satanic rituals or whatever the case may be, whatever the horrific things are. But we really can't divorce ourselves from any aspect of it, can we?
No, right? It's the one diamond, but maybe there's some facets on one side and there's a lump of coal on the other. Mm-hmm. It's still becoming the diamond. And we've chosen this duality in order to integrate it.
You're cool. You're good. You're cool. You're cool. I like you. You passed the litmus test.
Well, thank you.
The authenticity test.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm actually going to be, I think, I've got recently that authenticity is it. I've actually shifted some relationships recently around that feeling.
Man, a lot of people have.
It's so hard.
A lot of people have, and I gotta hand it to people that actually share that information, because there is a lot of pain with it.
Yes, and it's also the inner child. Like, am I missing out on the party now because I'm not playing with the same kids anymore? It's like it was hard, especially one of them I admire so much, and that person actually wasn't necessarily out of integrity, but chose to continue to work on a platform that I feel is not fully aligned, and that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But their point was, well, whatever. None of us are perfect, which is true. But I'm looking for as much perfection as I can bring to the table, with the awareness that when I fall, I'm going to share it also.
Yeah.
But purity, I'm after the purity consciousness to the best of my ability. And that's why I love light language and star language, because it's from the heart. There's nothing here involved.
Yeah.
So on that note, I'm going to share a little something. I'm going to see if they're going to share where they're from, because sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. I'm not getting anything specific, so I'm just going to let it come through. Nahur wa a ta'i wa anka, saranor ba'i yata e. Sarachiai ta'a ka'o, parayai tikopa. Mar ushpurana tse wa akashoa. Mar una ea aka u pa'ina na ea sam. Yor kormana ea ka huchai. Ma'ake na a ba'i yacho. Chora ne yara hu mara itza. Sombai mako. Norayu. Norayu. Mangadiu. Norayu.
So it is.
So it is.
Oh, that was powerful. Do you have to initiate that, or does it come in sometimes when you're just going through life?
It's all the time.
All
So
the time?
if I choose the channel, it's present. It's kind of like I'm so grateful in this now moment that I constantly don't speak to dead people, because I feel like that would be a door, like I'd have to be like, no. Gratefully, the door that seems to be wide open is this kind of fun. And it's not a reach, it's just turned on, and when I can
You just dial the radio.
enter the heart,
Yeah,
it
just-
comes right through.
Wow, far out.
Yeah.
And so, how can people find you, and what do you offer online? I know there's a lot of people tuning in Sedona local over these past 10 days or however long it's been.
Sure.
How long has it been? I don't even know. But anyway, so I know you do some stuff locally.
Yes.
But yeah, can you just fill us in how to find you and what you offer?
AuroraLunastar.com or AuroraLunastar@gmail.com. The website will be under construction, but for now you'll get the feel of it. And of course you need to reach me, you can just always send me an email, or you can reach me on Instagram at Aurora Lunastar, or on Facebook at Aurora Lunastar, or Aurora Luna. I can't even say my own name right now, I'm speaking too fast.
At least you can speak. I can't.
Hey,
even
there
speak.
you go. And it's a myriad of things. I work a lot with the guides that people are connected to that can help them in this moment. A lot of sound stuff, a lot of codes. The codes are what it is. Something I'll be working with through the next couple of shows that I'm doing are these future codes, because in the time-space continuum, everything is now. So they're showing me how we can access turning on more of our crystalline frequency, our DNA, and activating the aspects of our source self that can really ground in with Gaia, because she's supporting all of this too, right? She asked us to hang out with her, so we said, hey, sure, why not? And now we're all scratching our heads like, what were we thinking? How do I get out of here? No. Teasing.
No, we've come too far now. We didn't. No more of that.
Truth.
Although
Truth.
we respect anybody's
Right.
transition,
Sure.
so they choose to take it. But
Yeah, no, it's true. It's for sure, the work that I do is tailored towards the people that come towards me. So in other words, everyone comes with a different level of where they're streaming their consciousness from, and or what they're desiring to work through. My end game is empowerment. So anything that comes through on that person's behalf, whether it be, tasks or sound or little homework pieces that I ask them to do for themselves, it's just to empower and embody as much of their source self.
spoken like a true 5D practitioner. It's all about self-empowerment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, beautiful. I'd love to collaborate with you again.
You got it.
I think we're going to be here for what's today?
It's Blur's Day.
I think I think we've got about another probably I would say 7 to 8 days of broadcasting here as it stands, unless the vortex amplifies its magnetic force and roots us here longer. But yeah, I'd love to, and I appreciate the offer on both things.
Yeah, you got it. So just we'll be in
talk,
touch.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll reach out to you in about an hour and a half.
Yeah, you
2
got it.
hours. Is that okay?
And I'll make sure at least there's some. Anyway, I won't do it here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you so much.
brother.
Yeah, you're a pleasant surprise. You really are. Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Okay. Peace out, everybody. We're going to be back in about 5 minutes with Serena, and we're going to have another go at it. Yeah, we got it. I need some cacao.